Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another One Piece manga review. This week we're reviewing chapter 1023, Two Peas in a Pod. And I'm joined by my co-host, as always, Mr. Christian Hollinger. Before you even say a word, ZKK took a huge boost this week. Huge boost this week. ZKK is looking good. I got to give it to you.
Hey, look, man. The consensus that most of us have at this point is, look, Oda's in his bag. He knows what he's doing. It's not even amusing to me at this point to like talk ZKK each week because Oda's put in enough content to obviously make ZKK look legitimate, but sometimes he does some things that, you know, like will discredit it. And then literally the next chapter, he'll do something that's like, oh yeah, no, it's definitely going down. So I'm pretty convinced this was a very strong chapter for me, but I wouldn't be surprised if next chapter something gets said that suggests that it wouldn't happen. But hey.
Look, it's sitting pretty, and I didn't talk to you before, not how we always do about this chapter. But man, I just think King for Zoro kind of elevated my thoughts with the way he's like this street brawler swordsman, where he just being ravenous. I kind of like that for him. I like what's going on with Sanji, but we'll get into all of that. This was a great chapter, and I can't believe it. He actually did it. Like not to say the end, but like he did it, and I was shocked. Like, we said he would do it, like just because you got to predict that, but I didn't know if he was gonna follow through. But he followed through.
I mean, he followed through, and it's also interesting because, my consensus, along with a lot of other people, was like, Shinobu aging Momo should not produce an Odin caliber swordsman, nor should it produce a Kaido caliber dragon. Well, size, intimidation, and look-wise, we got a Kaido dragon. It even got to the point where when I was first reading it, I was actually confused because I was like, Kaido just teleported from the top of Onigashima to right in front of Luffy? Wait, what's going on? Like, why did Kaido... I was like, that's not Kaido. That's Momo.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, shit. Okay.
Crazy.
So, I'm excited. I don't know what he's going to be able to do with it. Back to your theory with the clouds to be able to pick up Onigashima. It's plausible. His mentality
looking good.
His mentality hasn't changed yet, but
and that's what we got to see, and that's what we got to see. A lot of our theories got a big boost this week. Yamato to the crew got a big boost this week, in my opinion, just because Momo's an adult. Right after the Raizo, Fukurokuju adult conversation for Shogun, so I don't feel Yamato sticking around. A lot of our theories got boost this week. But let's not even hesitate. Let's jump into it because there's a lot of interesting things in this chapter. This is a great chapter. So, as always, I don't really care about the cover story this week. It's whatever. It's just Vivi. But the chapter really starts with Sanji and Zoro, their fight with Queen and King. We then see some Marco flashback thinking about who told him about the King situation. Obviously, it's Whitebeard. He was like, bro, stop daydreaming like we're still in a war, you clown. Marco's like, nah, man, my guy's got this. You're not stressing. Yeah. And so King and Queen are attacking Zoro and Sanji with their moves. Sanji says something to Zoro that we'll dive more into when we discuss this. And then basically they save each other. Queen talks about the Germa a little bit. We get the name of King's race, the Lunarians, which I think is both interesting to King, the overall story, and Sanji. We then get Zoro's backstory hinted at in the sense of what the Wano Samurai are talking about. And so we get a little insight to both Zoro and Sanji in this one, their paths, who they truly are. We then flash around to all the other battles in Inuarashi and Jack. We see Sulong Inuarashi. We then see Nekomamushi and Perospero with Sulong, Nekomamushi. Gotta say Nekomamushi and Inuarashi might be the best scabbards right now. They killing shit. Like all you other scabbards are trash. These dudes didn't win Sulong twice, but we'll get to that. And then we see a little bit of boo-boo ass Fuku, Rokuju, and Raizo a little bit, and then we get the ending that we just previously discussed. So I know you want to start in the beginning, so take it away, sir.
So I'm actually going to start before the cover story. So the artwork that we got this week, where Oda drew Katakuri, Oden, Kaido, Yamato, Big Mom, Law.
Oh yeah, that's a beautiful picture.
That was beautiful. That also gave me Marineford kind of feelings. Like I know that, you can't really look at that and then say like, oh, is this foreshadowing a war specifically? Because looking at the characters doesn't necessarily make sense. But my first thought is like, wow, like you have two sides seemingly presented here, like a left and a right. At least that's the way I read it. And I was like that's just stacked, but that's beautiful. But yeah, as you said, I don't really care about the cover story.
Yeah, I don't
care about jumping straight into it. It's interesting because look, I said this before, and I still hold on to this sentiment, but King did impress me this chapter. So I say that, Zoro versus King, now that we already, received Zoro versus Kaido to some degree, lost some of its luster to me. And again, the way that I put it is we know that in the show, the main characters are going to win. So we knew Luffy was going to beat Katakuri. We had no idea how it was going to happen. We know Zoro's going to beat King, and we know Sanji's going to be Queen, but you can kind of see ways that Zoro could beat King. Yet this chapter did not bore me at all. I was very, very pleased with their fight. So going into this immediately, I have to give credit to King here because I saw someone do a comparison. If you remember, Zoro uses Purgatory Onigiri against Kaido along with Killer. And Kaido literally like smirks at it and says like, not bad, but you're going to have to do more. And Zoro uses Purgatory Onigiri on King. He does draw blood. He does put King on his back. But as we see here, King seems to be just chilling on the ground. Now, so this is interesting because portrayal-wise, or the way that I interpreted this could be one of two ways. Either King is legitimately has, a high level of endurance and durability where Onigiri was not enough to really, take him out at all. Or as Queen specifically said in the past, King is kind of a pervert for torture. So we could say that maybe, he's kind of like Dice from Film Gold, if you remember that, where perhaps, inflicting pain on King doesn't have the same effect that it has on other people. Like perhaps he lives for that. He, and I'm not trying to turn this into like a kink or anything, but we know that King is
I get what you're saying.
All black leather and everything. So it could be that like he's a masochist of some kind.
Yeah. I can see that. Also, he's not in hybrid yet. So like that's interesting to me too. So I think we got a lot to see in later in the chapter when we start seeing his brass knuckles, his sword that is one of those. I watch a lot of Forged in Fire with the separations on the back to grab blades. I think that's very interesting of a fight, almost like an like a swordsman, but not really like a true swordsman, almost like an anti-swordsman. And I think that's the perfect thing for Zoro combined with Kaido before he goes to the real swordsman of Mihawk, and I'm sure Shiryu and what's to come ahead, and if he does the Marine and whatever else is to come, if he fights the Gorosei swordsman, whatever that is. But I think all of this that's happening now, I kind of rock with it because when I say King, I gotta say King had a big boost this week. Queen, Queen's just Queen, but
yeah, King, I mean King, we're not too. This wasn't like a Sanji chapter like that. We got some lore perhaps that I'm about to get into.
We got what we've been predicting with Sanji. Yeah. Like it's gonna just be a bunch of Germa lore.
Right. So this was more of a Zoro chapter. So we didn't even get a lot of Queen. But there is more to dissect here in that capacity. So moving on from this, it does seem pretty interesting though, because I'm going to cover the whole like King being a swordsman and the implications and the way that the fandom has kind of interpreted this. But I'm very happy right now, again, because one of the things that, I've been waiting on is when Zoro said, I'm going to lead the samurai. When I'm thinking, Zoro has to get his background described, he needs to be able to do these things while being seen, essentially. At this point, only Big Mom, Kid, Luffy, Law, and Killer know what Zoro did on the rooftop. I don't think that CP0 knows anything. I don't believe anyone else had, like, the Marys. I don't believe that they were necessarily watching a roof piece. So I don't think anyone knows what's happened up there. So for things to be documented, it has to be witnessed. So I do wish that, people would know what happened on the rooftop, but that's been a reoccurring thing within One Piece where the world government doesn't actually know everything. Otherwise, Luffy would have probably been a billion-berry bounty just off of circumstance a long time ago. Mm-hmm. So anyways, we get some really cool scenes here where Kawamatsu backs up Zoro while he's being targeted by some of the Beast Pirates. We get Hyogoro basically telling everyone else, like, hey, look, let's respect this fight. No one get involved in this. No one allow anyone else to interrupt this fight. So again, it's a setup for a very nice Zoro 1v1 and King, Sanji 1v1 and Queen. I know some people kind of want to see like a combo where instead of saying Zoro versus King and Sanji versus Queen, it's literally Zoro and Sanji versus King and Queen, which mathematically means the same thing, but aesthetically and, combat prowess wise means something completely different.
Yeah, because it's like it's you can boost off of you don't necessarily have to see each other's strongest points because you can boost off of each other. And I don't think we're gonna get that. Like, we may get them saving each other every now and again, but for the most part, Zoro's looks like he's only attacking King unless it's to save Sanji, and Sanji's only attacking Queen unless it's to save Zoro, for that matter.
Right. So we go into Marco. He's kind of, having these flashbacks to Pops. And this goes back to reinforce our theory that Marco really was never, like, dedicated to defeating Kaido. He came here and he said, look, I'm here to support Luffy and the Straw Hats. And supporting them is completely different from putting my life on the line to defeat Kaido. I don't necessarily have beef like that with Kaido. Like, of course, he understands, okay, Kaido did kill Odin.
Hit one of his friends.
So yeah. I'm not pleased with that. But I mean, let's be real. I've lived my life for years now without Odin, so I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to help them. So I don't believe that Marco, based on this chapter, seems to really be like, oh, I'm just out of fuel, so much as he's just like, I've done my job. Mm-hmm. So I was a little bit actually confused because Marco goes from adjusting his glasses in a flashback to all of a sudden he's flying. So it's like, how did he get sent into Izo? Like, who sent him flying like that?
I don't know. Some rando.
But like, with what though? Like, how do you send Marco flying? Like,
I guess I'll assume because he was daydreaming. The rando, like, he was just looking up, and I'm guessing the rando just like shoulder shoved him with the most hockey he had, and like just sent him flying because he wasn't like focusing on his observation. They just got him.
I mean, but I get that. Like, I get he's not focusing on his observation, but I mean, like, this is Marco we're talking about. Like, his observation should be on. And to your point, he should have just turned into like flames and phased through that. So it's just, I get, his mind's not in the game right now, but seeing him fly into Izo to me was just hilarious because I'm like, I can't help but, I've always thought that Marco was a troll. So I can't help but feel like this is like some Kizaru bullshit where he's just like, oh, you got me. You sent me flying. Mm-hmm. Oh, no. It's just
a good way to Marco. Bring Izo in here and see a little Izo action, them talking Whitebeard. And, it's good seeing them, but I don't know what they about to do.
Izo's carrying Marco and Marco's just laughing and just allowing himself to be carried. It's like he should be carrying Izo and flying. Like, Marco's just being a troll. So I found that hilarious. But again, you kind of have him talking, vaguely about Pops. And we do find out, about the Lunarians and basically King and Queen antagonizing Zoro and Sanji, basically saying from the previous chapter, yeah, you got us, but I mean, surely that wasn't the extent of your powers. You're gonna have to try.
You have to do a little bit. You have to do a little bit better than that, partner. Let me ask you:
Right.
Lunarians from the moon? Not from the moon.
You know, when you hear the name Lunarian, it's
moon
specified
people
that it should be from the moon. And then Wano with the Shimosuke, which is like Frost Moon, and then, you know, the Dawn and the Minx. You know, there's a lot of references to the moon. So I wouldn't put it past it, but at the same time, King representing fire would be more of the sun. So like, I don't know how that works out. Why would a Lunarian be tied to combusting or bursting into flames?
Maybe because, let me give you this. Because they're on the moon, and like you said, frost moon is super cold. Their evolution was to be able to live there. Their body naturally started to become hotter and hotter until they can produce fire. And like, maybe that's why through evolutionary need, they had to create fire.
I mean, I can see that. But, you know, the way that Lunarian was dropped, I don't even think we're there yet. So I think we're a little bit ahead of ourselves.
It just got dropped super casually.
But yeah, it just got dropped super casually. And it's like, well, we're inferring that because Queen was like, well, it's not like you're a Lunarian. And it's like, okay, so are you making a reference to King? Because
are you making a reference to King? Or is Sanji a Lunarian from his mom's side? Like,
nah, that's pushing it. Because I think like if you're gonna have like a Lunarian, whenever we look at Ganelle's cover story, the little guys who are on the moon, didn't they have wings as well?
Yeah, Sanji should have wings if that's the case.
Yeah,
but you could argue that yes, exactly. I think this is more so because people are saying Sanji could be a Lunarian. I think this is more so Judge actually did accomplish something with Sanji, but it was a failure in the sense that his emotions make him more powerful and his body's fully becoming this augmented, half human, half cyborg situation. I think it's going to be he's actually the strongest one of the Germa. That's kind of what I see coming with it.
I got that sense from Whole Cake. Like,
true.
I was actually surprised because I was like, Sanji got like hoed multiple times in Whole Cake. Like, he was supposed to beat Judge, but then he just completely stops because of the human shields that I would assume he should have already known were clones. But he allows Judge to take advantage of that and then lose. He obviously beat Yonji off screen. It looked like he was about to beat Niji whenever Niji insulted the waitress. But then Niji was like, oh, I'll just beat up the waitress when you're not here. So then Sanji just stopped and allowed them to jump him. So it was like at no point did Sanji actually say, like, I'm going to try and beat my brothers and my father and nothing's going to stop me. Otherwise, I honestly think he would have ran through his entire family. Even though some things towards the end suggest that it wasn't, but I think that was plot induced to make the raid suit seem cool. Like when Niji sped up to Sanji, I was like, oh, you're moving too slow. And I was like, well, it looked like Oda was making Sanji move slower than normal. Like, he's shown Sanji moving quicker than that. Like, the same Sanji who speed blitzed Oven, I love to, reference this. This is my favorite Sanji feat as of right now. But the same Sanji who left the carriage, kicked Oven before he could realize that Chiffon's father wasn't the one who hit him, and then pick up Chiffon, go back to the cake carriage, all before Oven could even process what happened. That guy is being called too slow by Niji. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So it's like, unless you're trying to explain that the raid suit is this big boost. So when Sanji, who's already super fast, gets the raid suit, he should be ridiculously fast. Like, we're talking literally Kizaru fast at that point.
He should be. And the fact that the raid suit, his thing is used to manipulate lasers. The Kizaru Sanji thing is happening. No one can tell me it's not.
It's going to get even deeper than that, because I've seen some theories and some things that make sense here. And I'm going to get to that whenever Sanji expresses that. But yeah, so let's move on with this.
Yeah, we can keep going because we're gonna talk more about that Sanji, because I got theories, I got thoughts on this. I want to run this by you, so we'll definitely get to
right here. We're actually there. So Zoro senses that something's wrong with Sanji, and Sanji says nothing. It's just since my second time using the raid suit, I've been feeling kind of off, and this is where, it's interesting to me, because we know that the raid suit and Judge's work has to do with genes, right? And we know that effectively the raid suit is very similar to like the Power Rangers transformation thing, but it seems like it's also a DNA match. Like, I don't believe anyone else could use Sanji's raid suit.
Yeah, me neither.
So I think that not only did Judge augment all of his children, but I think that he specifically made Sanji's raid suit to finish the job, basically. So he said, okay, you're incomplete. So each time that you use this raid suit, like a software upgrade, it's going to slowly but surely finish altering you to turn you into something else. You'll always keep your emotions. So you'll never become an emotionless drone like your siblings, although Reiju doesn't technically count for that. But augmentation-wise, he's getting there. And all of the lore for that is actually presented already. Like the Virgo Sanji breaking his bone could be because he's supposed to develop an exoskeleton type thing, which means that would fix his bones breaking if he can get, that extra defense. The laser thing, he specified Queen's laser technology for Frankie, but actually it was Luffy and Chopper when Sanji first got his raid suit that threw out like, oh, Sanji, when you put the raid suit on, you might be able to fire laser beams. And Sanji like dismissed that idea. But then to your point, I don't only think that Sanji's going to be the best. I think Sanji might have traits from all of his siblings as well. Like, I think that Sanji at some point is going to awaken whatever lightning's like abilities Niji has, which is going to allow him to speed up faster. Don't make some joke about Conqueror's Hockey, because as soon as I said fire and lightning,
I ain't saying nothing.
I'm saying it.
If my man's an augmented conqueror, like he has the powers of a conqueror, but he's augmented, it's not really Conqueror's Hockey. I'm cool with it.
No,
I just know.
He has No. Okay.
I just know my guy's about to be strong. That's all I know. He's about to be crazy strong.
This is how I'm feeling. I'm feeling like everything that Sanji down players have been feeling has been done on purpose, because I actually feel like if this raid suit is actually augmenting Sanji, he's about to get explosively more powerful. Like,
it's about to be
it's
nuts.
to the point where I believe that there's a significant gap between Sanji and Zoro. And based on what I'm interpreting, my headcanon here, I always believe Sanji's going to be number 3, but I think Sanji's about to close the gap.
I agree.
Literally.
No, I agree 100%.
That's what I got from this chapter. I feel like Oda made it clear that Sanji was weaker than Luffy and Zoro because he wanted to specifically show an explosive transformation. Like, Sanji has not had great matchups.
No, he hasn't.
He hasn't performed well in the new time skip. So
and I think this is about to make it to where Zoro Yonko level, Luffy Pirate King level, Sanji First Commander level. But the strongest of the first commanders. That's what I think it's about to be.
I mean, in my opinion, you'd have to push that a little further, because like you say things like Pirate King level, well, what does that mean? To Luffy, the Pirate King is just the freest.
True.
So when you look at things, like you can make a debate that Whitebeard was more powerful than Roger.
Well, we're going to find that out soon enough.
I mean, yeah, we'll find that out. But it's like Roger had the title of Pirate King. And then we know from Big Mom, like he didn't beat Big Mom. He just went to Whole Cake and took her ponytail. So it's like Roger becoming, I'm not trying to downplay Roger. I'm just saying it's technically, you can make an argument to say that there's people who are stronger than Roger.
He was just fair. No, that's
title fair. Of right.
So Luffy will be the strongest Yonko in that situation, and Zoro be Yonko.
I don't even know. Like, I mean, like we say things like Yonko level, but then it's like, well, what does Yonko level mean? Because according to Big News, Luffy is Yonko level, but then amongst Yonko, Whitebeard, and I would say like Kaido are probably the top tier Yonkos, even amongst Yonkos. So it's like Yonko level is already a range. So it's like when you say like, okay, Luffy should be Pirate King level or Yonko level, then it's like Luffy should be at the top of the top. Zoro, I believe, should be somewhere near that. And Sanji should be approaching somewhere near that.
Yeah.
And I've always felt like, okay, if you think of the whole like podium scenario, how the distance between each level is vaguely the same. Like if,
gold and silver's like this, and then bronze is like this.
And then silver and bronze is the same gap. And I never got that feeling about Zoro and Sanji being the same distance that like Zoro is away from Luffy. But I think that at this point, that's what Oda's about to do. He's about to exponentially grow Sanji.
Bro, I'm hyped. Like if my, because you got to look at it, Niji and all the brothers and Reiju can use their powers walking normally.
Right.
Sanji's about to have low key the devil fruit he always wanted without wearing that suit. I see that coming.
I believe it too, and this might explain why he still hasn't put the raid suit on yet. Because
he's scared. He's hesitant. He's hesitant because he doesn't know what his body's gonna do. But it's about to be like, and also, isn't he number 3?
He is number 3.
Third time's the charm, bro. He got to put it on. Mm-hmm. Like the moment it happens, it's over with.
Yeah. So I'm with that. I'm
glad we agree on the way that this is going to go and not the Lunarian thing. Because I've seen a lot of the community saying he's going to be half Lunarian. That's why I brought it up.
Oh, that's the thing.
I'm more of the augmented situation, though.
No. Like that's the thing, though. It's still possible. I wouldn't say half Lunarian, but you got to remember
Judge could have took the DNA from them.
DNA,
not so that I'll agree with.
Could have, like 5% Lunarian capabilities in him.
Because of Judge. And Judge is one of the only few people that can go on top of the red line. So if he knew where they were, the DNA is possible to get. I'll buy that. Right. I'm not buying his mom as half Lunarian.
No, I don't buy anyone.
Great point. That's Lunarian. A great point. And the fact
DNA wise,
it's blowing my mind because Judge is literally the only person in the fucking whole One Piece universe that can get on top of the red line at ease anytime he wants. So it makes sense that he would inject Lunarian DNA from either relics, bones, whatever it may be, into his kids. That's nuts to me. Great storytelling from Oda. And if this is not true, I'll be shocked because it's too well placed. Like
it really is. Yeah. So now
I'm just seeing those snails, man. Like the whole freaking thing.
I know.
That's crazy.
And now that I've told you my legitimate opinion on Sanji, now I'm going to be toxic for just one. Well, I'm going to be toxic one more time. So when Zoro says, "You're not going to slow me down, are you?" And Sanji does not counter with, "No, are you not going to slow me down?" But rather says, "I said it's nothing." I was like, yo, wait, this isn't Sanji like rivaling Zoro. Like I fully expected Sanji to be like, "Weren't you the one who was just healed? Shouldn't you not be holding me back?" But he doesn't say that. He
was trying to have a real conversation with his friend, and his friend was clowning.
No, I'm clowning right now, but I'm saying like, that actually did catch me off guard because as soon as I saw Zoro say that, I'm like, oh, Sanji's going to be like, "Oh, don't hold me back," or whatever. And then he's like, "Oh, no, I said it's nothing. Like, you don't have to worry about me. My body just feels a little odd." So then the second part that I'm going to be slightly toxic with, not really, is it's interesting here because it's like we see Sanji has a little spark above his head when he realizes that King is about to attack him. But why was Sanji not able to react to that? Like his observation hockey is, I'm not saying it's higher than Zoro's because again, all Otis said was he specified the specialties of each Straw Hat.
Yeah.
But he didn't say like, oh, Sanji's observation hockey is the strongest in the Straw Hats because then he gives Luffy future sight.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that, but I do believe that Sanji's observation hockey is higher than Zoro's. So the fact that
he didn't recognize, I think it has to be the body situation.
I mean, and like I said, that's literally what he just said before, right before the panel. It's like, my body feels odd. He said it twice. So I'm giving it to that, but it's also like that hasn't really been explained or showcased before now. So it did feel weird that Zoro had to step in to block King. And then as we see again, this is the third time that Zoro's been put in this position. First time was when he was fighting Gyukimaru and Killer simultaneously. The second time is when he was fighting Gyukimaru and then Kawamatsu sneak attacked him. And now we have Zoro fighting King and Queen's trying to take that, unguarded moment to take care of Zoro. And then you have Sanji repaying the debt. And so the toxic part that I'm saying is like Sanji needed to be saved because he wasn't quick enough. But in this case, Zoro knew, and he was already doing something.
This guy, right? Bro.
Now, that's just me throwing shade.
That's super toxic.
Just to throw it out there. In reality, they paid the favors back.
I like that we see Queen's hockey on his like medal. I think that's so cool. Like Queen and King are finally becoming who we thought they were. Like the fact that, and then like the fire is still on from when Sanji's kicking him. So is that helping him? Is that hurting him? Like there's so many questions from that.
I was confused about that. Like, is Queen generating flames himself, or is that Sanji?
I always thought that was Sanji's. So like it's kind of helping him when he's hitting Zoro because he's having like a flame claw.
Yeah. So that's definitely interesting. But Sanji comes in here, repays the debt. So that was really cool. And then Queen suggests that perhaps Sanji's flames are because he was genetically modified, which is what I believe as well. But then Sanji directly contradicts that and says, well, no, it's my emotions. And so this is where I'm saying, okay, this is another way that you could argue. I'm playing devil's advocate because I actually try and break apart reasons to say that Zoro and Sanji are parallel. But if you want to say that Sanji has his own power system, like no one else in the One Piece universe, to my knowledge, can combust into flames based off of emotions.
No one that we know yet.
Fruit, or it has to be like hockey related. No one that we know.
Yeah.
Right. So like King is of that breed that can do that. So like that's their specific race's power system. Sabo and all the other flame or heat related devil fruits are obviously the devil fruits. So in this case, you could say that, okay, no, this is not a genetic augmentation from Judge, and that this is completely and totally formulated by Sanji's emotions, because Zoro also has a power system that no one else has shown, which is his ability to use Asura, which is manifestation of his will. So it's like, okay, if Zoro can use a power that is legitimate, like, Asura is not just an illusion. You know what I mean? Like he does actually triple his or double. No, he triples, his swords. He doubles, his head. So that's a legitimate thing. Sanji's flames are not an illusion. They really can burn people, and they are hot. So you could say that both Sanji and Zoro have somehow manifested an intangible concept, such as willpower and emotion, and created a power system from it, which is not the devil fruit power system or the hockey power system per se. Maybe you can tie it back to hockey. So you can make that argument. But personally, I do believe that Sanji's flames are in part due to Judge tinkering with his kids. Yeah. I don't know that yet. And Sanji did say, it's my emotion. So you can trust Sanji as
we'll trust him
source.
And it may be from his emotions, but it may turn out that because you have Lunarian DNA and Judge thought because you kept your emotions, it was a failure. Actually, that's just the DNA he put in his kid, not knowing the creature.
Right.
And therefore they use their emotions to conjure their fire. But as we see King more, we'll learn if that's the case. But loved King's fighting style, man, with like I said, the hook blade that can snatch blades out of Zoro's hand, his spiked knuckles. King's a badass. Gotta give it to him.
Oh yeah. We did kind of skip over the Sanji spiral kick. I did like the beauty of that, although I think it was also another callback to Black Maria and her flame dog.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. I can't wait to see this also animated because I don't believe Sanji called out an attack, but I believe that that's the same thing he used against Luffy and Whole Cake when he cracked his skull. He just jumped up in the air and I think wound up a little bit more. But that does look interesting. And to your point again, Queen's using hockey on his stomach.
Or his hand, really whatever cool. That is.
I mean, it's on his hand too, but if you look like right where the contact is happening.
Yeah, that is his belly.
It looks like Luffy's Gear 4, like the flame black pattern. So again, Queen is looking quite competent because he's taken multiple blows at this point from Sanji, and I guess he's tired of the pain. So he's saying, all right,
I'm hockeying
actually going to defend against you now. So that was great. And now we're getting into this King thing, which has the fandom right now just all over the place. I love how, this starts where immediately King, tries to disarm Zoro. I don't know if this is because King is aware of how potent Zoro is, or he's just aware, like, okay, well, Zoro, you're a swordsman.
I think that's what it is, because I feel like that's his style. If you have a blade like that, that means that's just what you do. If you're fighting swordsmen, I'm going to take your swords away from you and fight how I want. If you don't, that plays into my hand even better.
Right. So that is the sense that I got here. Again, I like the fact that Zoro calls out, don't get distracted, because we do see that King was distracted. And this goes back to the same thing I said before, which is that sword fights don't last long, because if you make a single mistake, it can be detrimental. And Mihawk is the one who said originally, losing your focus immediately in a fight, could immediately turn into your loss, even for a second. So I do like that Zoro's out here saying, pay attention, basically. But then, as we saw, this punch looked very, very impressive. King is ginormous. His bicep in that punch looks freaking huge. And we can see what seems to be blood.
I was looking at that. I don't think it's blood. I think it's just sparks.
I mean, it could be sparks, but it's like, why is it drawn black?
True.
Like that? But then it's confusing because, like, we don't necessarily see blood later, and it doesn't seem like King actually connected Zoro. Yeah. Zoro blocked it with Wado Ichimonji in his mouth, which, again, aside from anime logic, it's ridiculous because Zoro's teeth have to be the strongest thing in one piece.
Maybe his gums bled a little bit from that hit.
I don't think so. I think Zoro's teeth literally are the top one.
Oh, no. I agree with you. I'm just talking about when you said about those black dots around it when the punch initially happened.
I mean, look, I think it's probably coming from his mouth.
Unless that's King's fist getting cut because he punched the blade, but like either way, I felt that it was no damage because I was confused by those black dots as well.
I was confused too, but I was going off with no damage. I was gonna say, like, look, every other time we've seen those black dots, we called it blood. So I'm just going to be consistent with that, but I don't really see damage.
Yeah, me neither.
So it's like Zoro still blocked that, which is crazy to me. But, again, Zoro now says, like, I get it. You're a bloodthirsty brute. And King says, I never understood why anyone would basically just try and have like a traditional battle when the point is to win at any cost. Mm-hmm. And Zoro, echoes this sentiment. And this is where I get frustrated. So some people say, okay, Zoro's dream doesn't matter anymore. And there is one sort of thing that's kind of disappointing when you think about Zoro's dream, and that is that swordsmen in One Piece are not ranked hierarchically. So we don't really know where Zoro is in his dream to become.
Process, yeah.
It's almost like Zoro's goal to become the world's strongest swordsman is only predicated on him being Mihawk. There is no like actual legitimate climb, because
like how we see with Luffy going up the ladder. Right. That's a good point.
It's like, okay, you've got Kabaji, I believe is his name, who is the swordsman under Buggy. He was a swordsman, but like if we're gonna rank him in the world's tier of swordsmen, he's in like
towards the bottom. Yeah.
Like Zoro, when he was introduced, was probably already in the hundreds, whereas Kabaji is in the thousands. Yeah. So it's like, that's not really interesting. But when you look at their fight, he was using spinning tops. He was riding a unicycle. He was doing all kind of other things other than swordsman, but he called himself a swordsman, which is interesting. Then you've got, like, who else would you say is, someone that led to Zoro becoming the world's greatest swordsman? I would say Daz Bones, Mr. One. He said, I'm not a swordsman. He said, I'm an assassin. So again, you have, okay, well, the next major person, you can say, okay, Hachi, because Hachi said he's the strongest.
I wasn't even going to count Hachi. I was going to say like maybe the swordsman in Fishman Island, if you count that.
That's jumping way forward. I'm just like, I'm going through like each one of his opponents. Like you could say Hachi because Hachi said he's the strongest Fishman swordsman. But, as you said, I didn't even count Hachi.
Yeah,
and honestly, I just thought of this. Like, I already thought of this segment that I'm talking to you about now. Before this, I didn't even think about Hachi. Hachi came up live right here. So, again, not relevant. So the first thing I think is Daz Bones, not a swordsman. Okay, who came after Daz Bones? The next guy I'm thinking about
is from
most people probably won't even remember. Okay, I didn't even think about him.
The guy he had a sword, but it was more about his power. Like the sword was like almost like a
The sword was just like it contained iron, but he had the ability to soften and harden the iron and extend it.
It just was like, the way, it was just a tool to use his power. He wasn't necessarily a sword.
Yeah, it was connected to a scabbard. So it's like, it's technically a sword. I don't remember if he called himself a swordsman or not. But again, it's not this sentiment of like, I know he's a swordsman. So you move on. It's better to say it like this. Like Kaku is a swordsman, straight up. We can say he's probably world renowned as a swordsman. Zoro beat him. That's relevant. We know that Zoro beat T-Bone on the way to go beat Kaku. Most people probably don't remember T-Bone, but I believe T-Bone is now currently like a vice admiral. And he's actually a swordsman. Filler, we've gotten Zoro versus Momonga, but it's never happened in the canon. We have had Zoro face off with Fujitora. But really, when you think about like, okay, what is the hierarchy of swordsmen? It's not clear. Like, I don't see Zoro facing off with Visa ever. And on top of that, if you really think about it, Zoro's already surpassed Visa because we already have two Whitebeard captains, or not captains, but
commanders
in Marco and Izo. I would have Visa somewhere in between Marco and Izo. Okay, so Zoro's already proven he's above all the scabbards. So he's above Izo, who is technically a Wano samurai, although he uses guns more so than swordplay. It's contentious, but I do technically have Zoro over Marco right now. But, you can make an argument either way. So I got him over Visa already. So that's not going to happen. And you go back to Marineford. It would have been so nice if when they clashed, if Visa's like, oh, Mihawk, you know my name. And Mihawk was like, of course, you're ranked as like the number 5 swordsman or something. Of course, I would know you. But there's no rankings there.
No, there's nothing.
So it's like, okay, we know he's going to face off with Shiryu at some point, right? Okay, Shiryu should be top 5 in the verse as far as swordsmen are concerned. So that's kind of clear. When they get to the red-haired pirates, Zoro should be fighting Shanks based off of this. But it's like, well, we know Luffy most likely is going to be fighting Shanks.
Zoro's
but
fighting
then even by that, it's like some people are saying, well, this chapter is showcasing that Shanks isn't a swordsman because just because you have a sword doesn't mean you're a swordsman.
Facts.
Well, that's contradicted by Mihawk calling Shanks a swordsman.
Shanks a swordsman, true, yeah.
So, that doesn't change, but that does shine a light on some other things. So I said before, Mihawk having the title of world's greatest swordsman, what does that mean for people like Big Mom, who uses Napoleon? Does that mean that Mihawk is stronger than her? Okay, we're talking headcanons. I got Mihawk beating Big Mom, but not because Big Mom uses Napoleon, therefore automatically making her weaker than Mihawk, just because I power scale Mihawk that high.
Yeah, same.
So with this does kind of clarify some things. Now we don't have to be so literal and say like, oh, Big Mom is a bona fide swordsman. We can say, okay, well, Big Mom's probably more of a brawler with her elemental abilities, who has been trained in swordsmanship. And another great example of that is when we saw the cover story of Kobe and Helmeppo training, they were both training in the sword play. I was trying to use the Japanese thing with kinship or whatever. But they were training with kendo. So they were training with, wooden swords. But Kobe is a brawler.
Yeah.
So it's like plenty of people are going to have a skill set with a sword. Doesn't make them a swordsman.
I'm a swordsman. No, 100%.
So this goes very nicely. And then the other thing that people are kind of saying, oh, Zoro's dream doesn't.
Oh, no, I thought
really
you were going to the next thing. Oh, my bad.
No, I'm about to. But they were saying that because Zoro mentioned like, I guess you have a point. You never claimed to be a swordsman. Just know that when it comes down to it, I might end up tearing your throat with my teeth or whatever, his exact quote was. And some people say like, oh, so Zoro's saying he'll throw away, his swords to fight some other type of way. And it's like, okay, first of all, y'all are misunderstanding what's being presented here. Zoro is saying, I am ferocious. I'm wild.
Mm-hmm. Because he even has the sword the same way when he was talking to Monet. This is like, I'm a wolf again. That's what that is.
And I'm glad you brought that up because that's the exact thing I was about to bring up. What did he tell Monet? He said, have you ever met a wild animal that you could promise would not bite you? And he specifically said bite. And in this chapter, he says, bite through your throat.
Mm-hmm.
So what Zoro's saying is like not, saying the king would like shatter his blades, but like, if you disarm Zoro, he's still going to fight you.
Yeah.
And he's still going to find a way to beat you. And we've seen this before. Zoro has straight up boxed people before. You go back to Baroque Works. He beat that manly lady just by squeezing her head. We've seen, Zoro has monstrous punches, monstrous kicks as well. He can use no sword style. So that's what's trying to be presented here is that Zoro is a ferocious, brutal person as well. So he's a good matchup for King because both of these people probably have similar perspectives on pain. They can handle it. They'll work through it. Doesn't matter. They're going to do what they need to do to accomplish and get results. That does not mean that Zoro is any less of a swordsman. All right.
Your man's is a Shimotsky, bro. Got the same scar across his chest as Ryuma across his face. Nah, that's hard.
This is where shit gets really, really good because what we've been saying for the longest time is Zoro's backstory has to get explained. It's been hinted at very strongly, very similar to like Conqueror's Haki, in my opinion. The One Piece anime and manga has been hinting at it for a while, but it took confirmation for people to really accept it to a degree. It still hasn't been flat out stated like, oh, Ushimaru is your father, right? But at this point, it's practically impossible to overlook that because it's being brought up once again. Two, the people who are recognizing this are very valid and recognizable people in Kawamatsu and Hyogoro. And again, this is where things get funny to me. And I understand it. It's like, okay, first of all, I tweeted this. I said, Oda's slick. Oda drew Zoro in 3 different ways and tried to convince us they're 3 different people.
Mm-hmm.
Ryuma, Ushimaru, and Zoro himself. If you look at this chapter when we get here, Hyogoro and Kawamatsu, when they look at Gyukimaru and Ushimaru in their minds, you can't tell me that is exactly Zoro without the eye scar.
That's what it is. No, 100%. And then he doubles down with Ryuma as like
he
a
doubles down
descendant
with
of them.
We've seen this picture before, but Ushimaru's face was still shaded out. Now Oda straight up drew it. That is Zoro. All right, we're gonna get. You just have to give me a moment. When we get to the one-eyed swordsman, at first I was like, why did he draw Zoro, and Zoro? And then I said, wait, that's Ryuma's gi. That's not Zoro. That's like I knew they looked similar, but Oda just dropped it. He said, no. It's direct. Like, this isn't supposed to be some similar shit. This is literally his word for word.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I was just blown away because when you look at this picture of Ryuma, that is Zoro. The only difference is that he has an extra scar on his cheek. There is no other difference.
He has the same scar that Zoro has across his body on his face.
Right.
This is the exact same scar and stitched the same way. I was like, oh, that's nuts.
That's ridiculous. And, so, all right, so let me actually get into this. So not only do they explain that this is a direct descendant type scenario, you have Ryuma. We don't know if that's like Ushimaru's grandfather, great-grandfather. I don't even know. Do you know like how long ago Monsters took place in reference to One Piece?
I do not. Like it
was, I don't know that either.
And I don't even know if that's No,
Monsters is canon. Monsters is legitimately canon. And we know this also, aside from Oda confirming it, we know it because exactly what happened in Monsters is what's being referenced in One Piece all the time. In Monsters, Ryuma literally slays a dragon over Wano's capital in Monsters. And that is exactly what is referenced throughout the entire One Piece, continuum.
True.
So it is definitely canon. The storyline is canon. We've seen other iterations of Ryuma. So like in this scenario, I don't know why Oda didn't draw Ryuma with like dark hair, because we know he has black hair. So like maybe he was already getting up in age here. I don't know. But anyways, so this is really nice though, because I said before, Zoro's supposed to be leading the samurai. And he said that, and this is where I believe this is about to happen. Hyogoro has been the witness for Luffy. He's the one who's called him, the Buddha. He's the one who said, he reminds me of Odin. He has this unbreakable will. So I'm glad that Hyogoro and Kawamatsu are the two people who are witnessing what Zoro's doing, along with the rest of the Wano samurai right now. I believe that this is going to lead into, part of the new legend being formed. And to, really push this forward, this is what I was saying was funny earlier. If Hyogoro and Kawamatsu have a very clear image of Ushimaru, and they have a clear image of Ryuma, why haven't they questioned Zoro before? Like, when I said, like, okay, you look at monsters, you look at One Piece, you could say Zoro and Ryuma look alike. No. It is a clone. This is Bardock, Goku, and Goten from Dragon Ball. This is direct. So, like, why are they acting brand new now? Like, Kawamatsu, where was this when Zoro said, I fought Ryuma? Where was this when he said, I didn't steal Shusui, I got it back, and I want to go visit Ryuma's grave? And Kawamatsu's like,
plot.
You dare?
That's what that is. Plot.
So, I mean, that's why I was laughing. I was like, this is complete plot. Like, the fact that Kawamatsu was in Ringo, saw Zoro in action,
and is now thinking
like, yeah, I don't recognize you. How dare you say Ryuma's name? And then here he's like, oh yeah, this guy's obviously connected to Ryuma. Like, obvious. There's something fake going on. It's like, really?
It took really? Hyogoro saying something to him like, oh yeah, he brought the sword. Wow. But hey, really? Kawamatsu just might be a dingy, bro. Kinemon's dumb too. So but let's get to the MVP of the Scabbards. Right. Inu Arashi, bravo, sir. Bravo.
Yes. This, like, okay. I just want to, again, I want to fanboy over Inu because he is ragdolling Jack. Like, this is what we've been waiting for since Zoe.
Better wrestling moves than King again. I mean, not than King, than Kid again with the.
I wasn't even thinking about that, but the fact that, like, again, Inu has been, as far as Jack is concerned, Jack has made Inu look godly. I will never forget the goosebumps I got when Jack was on Zoe and he swung his trunk and Inu just caught it with one hand. And there wasn't, like, the struggle animation where it shows like your hands like struggling. Like, no, Inu's hand was completely calm. He stopped all the momentum and was just chilling. He's like, nah, that's not what's about to happen here. So, Jack is still talking his shit. And, Inu just grabs him and just swings him like a rag doll.
Just throws his ass. Man, Jack is,
and this is not Sulong.
Yeah, this is not. Like, Inu looks like one of the stronger Scabbards, man. He really does.
Without a doubt. And it makes sense again because it's like Denjiro, Inu, Neku.
They live those 20 years. Like
they should be the strong, like, period. Like, I don't even understand.
That's why Ashura Doji is like, that's how I don't understand how he's dead.
No, I don't think Ashura is dead. I think Kiku needs to be dead. I think Kinemon needs to be dead.
I agree.
But the fact that they were following Kinemon as though Kinemon was stronger, the fact that Kinemon seems to be still the leader, it's like, but how?
And they lead a nation of people. Like, let's not let the kings lead this group. Let's let 20-year-old or however old Kinemon was, 28, 29, 30-year-old Kinemon, who's an idiot, lead us. But, Nekomamushi, Inarashi, y'all just follow along.
Right. So, a non-Sulong.
His Sulong looks badass.
And then, as we saw here, he actually does make I don't know if he makes this hole, but he.
They go outside.
Right. So.
Oh, no. They go into.
No. He's saying a hole in the roof.
Yeah. Okay. So wait, he throws them out of the room into the open area, and there just happens to be a hole in the roof in the area that they're in.
Okay. So that was dope. And then we get to see Sulong again. So we already know if this dude is ragged up.
We're seeing the fight now because we didn't get to see Sulong the first time. We're seeing both Sulongs in action now. And I think that's badass. Like, he took away the shock of us wanting to see how they look, but then elevated the excitement back up by not showing us how they fight for their individual one-on-ones. Got to give Oda a bravo for writing. This whole chapter was a bravo in writing.
It really was. It really was. Like, so, Inu is looking absolutely...
His Sulong looks better than Nekomamushi. I can say it now. His shit is badass.
Easily.
Like, he looks almost like Yamato almost.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
But
then Neku, I'm absolutely loving that too, because I also get this sense of Neku's been very composed. Like, when he found out that Pedro died, he was
he's about to let loose.
He took it in stride, right? Like, I think he took that and said, okay, well, we're going to take down Kaido. People are going to die. I can't afford to harp on this right now. There was another moment where he found out, he's like, oh, Perospero's here? Cool. I'm still focused on Kaido, but this is in the back of my head, right? So he's been waiting. Okay, the Scabbers did what they did they tried their best with Kaido. They're not here to actually kill Kaido.
Everybody has a matchup, so I'm just going to take the matchup that's from me.
And since last chapter, Neku was on his ass. Just knocked him out and said, hey, let's take this outside. And Neku's not talking just to be talking. He's jumped into his Sulong form, and he's like,
we about to bust you up. Yeah,
you are not leaving this place.
Like, and you thought Carrot and Wanda's Sulong was bad.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm the king, dog. I'm the king of the night. Yeah. Like, you're about to get wrecked. Do we see Wanda and Carrot jumping in? Also, gotta say, Carrot for Straw Hat took a hit this week. She's not looking Straw Hat worthy. She's looking like she's gonna be one of the leaders of the Minks. To all you people out there, Yamato for Straw Hat's looking real good right
Yamato
now.
For Straw Hat, to me, was, as soon as she was introduced,
Thank you.
That's it. But that's a wrap. Carrot,
because Carrot looks like she's not nah, dog. She ain't ready for this.
Carrot and Wanda are going to be witnesses. That's it. It. I don't see them jumping in, and even if they wanted to, I see Neku being like, "No,
you gotta stay away." Yeah.
Or wait, this is for me. Like, I'll handle this.
And I'm so happy Oda just gave Fukurokuju and Raizo just like 2 chapters. Basically, it was
we don't want to see that.
All we needed from them was, hey, we won't accept a Shogun unless he's old. He's like, nah, Momo's still worthy. Well, Momo's old now, so like, it's over with.
And I said this before, again, I don't know how, you could get Bonnie there to, match.
Man, Momo's staying like, matches mine.
Oh, no. Yeah. Well, I'm saying like, I'm not saying like immediately, but sometime, because at some point, Momo will probably be mentally in his prime, but then he'll be out of his physical prime because he's, he has his 20-year gap. It may not be all that relevant where it needs to be addressed. It's not like, person I feel like Chopper is gonna like fix Smile, to fix like Killer. I'm perfectly fine with like
Momo staying this way.
Understanding that Killer is just like that now.
Yeah, I'm okay with that too.
But when it comes to Momo, it's fine too. You know what I mean? But it would be nice if he's not literally a child as the Shogun, but it's fine because it's One Piece. These kind of things happen. So yeah, I'm glad that the Fukurokuchu and Raizo thing was not major.
Yeah,
it's just not necessary. And we said we wanted to see Neku and Inu anyway, and that's what we're getting. So I was very happy with that. And as I was telling you earlier, as we lead into this last panel, I was actually caught off guard because I knew, Shinobu was actually going to, age Momo. But when I saw this, I was like, wait, Kaido like literally just came off of Onigashima and just met Luffy? Like, Roof Piece isn't happening? It's on the ground. Onigashima?
And I can't lie, Luffy standing there looks badass looking at if that would have been Kaido. Like, I would have been mad at it, but either way, this is hard. Now the Wano has the good dragon deity in Momo.
Right.
Bro, I'm telling you, this is how I feel right now. Zoro's killing Kaido because Kaido has to die, and Momo's gonna spare Orochi. I 100% in the. Let me tell you why. You're ending the cycle of hate. You're ending the cycle of hate because if
this isn't Naruto though.
But that's big to them because if you're gonna bring the new dawn, if you're gonna do all of this stuff, you can't just kill him and say, "Oh, well, what happens if there's another whatchamacallit? Then this will continue." That's not doing better by your father and your grandfather.
Well, that's like saying, "Oh, we're gonna spare Orochi's grandfather who slayed the shogun and everyone else just because we don't want to obscure your family." It's like Orochi needs to die for what he did. No one's going to blame them.
They were the cause of it, though. Like, if you look at the they were the cause of it.
Like they're the cause for trying to exterminate the entire Kurozumi family.
Yeah, which brought forth Orochi.
No, and I'm saying that. But even Orochi says that them murdering his grandfather was justified. Like, he was like, I understand why y'all killed my father. Why y'all are still killing the entire clan. And that's going too far. That's the issue.
And that's what I'm talking about. And I'm saying because they tried to kill the whole clan, they brought forth Orochi. So by Orochi doing all of this brought forth them, how do you end that cycle? If you
Orochi is the poison though. Like, if you end Orochi right now, like, who wants to avenge Orochi? Like, who's on Orochi's side that's like, oh, y'all did Orochi wrong, so now I'm going to dedicate my life to tearing down one. Like, who else is doing that?
Fair. That's fair.
But then there's also more than that. Like, if you want to spare Kurozumi, then, go hail Kanjuro. Kanjuro has...
Okay, well then, boom, I just need one Kurozumi to live.
Yeah.
If Kanjuro's alive, then you can kill Orochi.
I'm cool with that.
Because you got to end the cycle of hate some form of way.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's too much here because, like, Momo, I'm fine with Momo sparing Orochi, and then Hiyori comes and kills him. And it's like, Momo, you're the Shogun, you can do it.
You're the Shadow Shogun.
Like, I lived here for 20 years. Like, I know we both lost our parents, but you came back after 20 years. You didn't experience what I experienced. Mm-hmm. I have to kill him. You maybe, like, you had whatever, but she already told Zoro, I wish I could kill him. We know Hiyori is in Onigashima. Oda dropped this months ago and has not come back to it yet, but Hiyori is there.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with it.
I think you hit it. I think Kanjuro gets spared.
Kanjuro
that's the one.
Gets spared. There's no way Orochi is getting spared. That dude, he has to die.
But Momo's not killing Kaido. Momo's not fighting Kaido. I'm tired of that. Momo's job is to get Luffy to the roof and save Wano from being crushed by Onigashima. I truly, truly believe that now.
And there's some things I could see. Like, for instance, like, let's say Onigashima gets over the capital and Kaido starts pulling some, stereotypical evil villain shenanigans where he's like, oh, I can't hit you, Luffy. What if I shoot a borrowed breath at the capital?
Momo shoots
and
another borrowed breath.
Momo, cancel out the borrowed breath with his own borrowed breath. And, like, maybe it overwhelms him so that we see that, well, you can't actually shoot the same caliber borrowed breath, but it diffuses the majority of the borrowed breath,
and it makes him strong. Yeah, it makes him strong.
And, it also, it damages him, which then allows him to grow from that. So I wouldn't mind seeing him help fight Kaido, but I don't expect him to, like, overpower or actually cancel out a borrowed breath with his own borrowed breath or use his own dragon twister that's on the same caliber at all.
And I think even though Momo's going to save Wano, I think it's also going to be a tragedy. I don't think he's going to save all of it. I think it will fall, but he's going to limit the damage. Into Act 3, Kaido backstory, Act 4. I'm on it. I'm on it. I think it's ending soon. Act 3 is going. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the pathway. Act 3 is going to end. But also, your point of a dragon needs to be slayed over the capital. Does that mean Onigashima needs to stay up? That's the only thing.
I mean, you can still have, again, since Kaido can fly, you can
jump in the air.
But that's the other part about the ZKK thing that I did want to bring back. I'm not talking like every chapter this, but again, it would have been very easy to go back to that for a second for Kawamatsu and Hyogoro to say, look, let's just talk about Ushimaru. You know what I'm saying? Because we already speculate that Zoro is related to Ushimaru, and then Kawamatsu is talking about Ringo and all these other things. So it would have been easily
just
good enough to stop right there. But the fact that they referenced
that's
Ryuma,
what got me with ZKK.
Immediately means dragon, Wano,
Slaying.
Black Blade.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, what has been introduced in Wano? Ryuma, Black Blade, dragon, Wano. Like Yukimaru told Zoro, you have to blacken your blade. And Zoro said pretty much like, I figured that, and I'm on like my way. I was kind of piecing that together. So at this point, because you now referenced Ryuma again, it's like, okay, again, let's look at this chronologically. Wano practically opens up with Zoro being accused for stealing Shusui, which means that we start off Wano with a reference to Ryuma, a Black Blade, and possibly slaying a dragon. Okay? For a while, that's on the back burner. Zoro gets lost. He meets Gyukimaru. Gyukimaru brings up Ryuma, a Black Blade, slaying a dragon. Okay? That goes back on the back burner for a while. We get to Onigashima. Ryuma, a Black Blade, slaying a dragon. It's brought up for a third time. Yep. So it's like Oda's hammering home that Ryuma is not just a parallel. Punk Hazard is not the payoff for Ryuma, as so many people have been trying to say. It's not. Some people are also trying to say that, like, okay, well, since Zoro is being witnessed by Hyogoro and Kawamatsu, that this is where that legend's going to happen. You know, he's going to slay King technically over the capital, and that's the legend. And it's like, okay,
bro,
well,
it's too set up for that.
Yeah, we didn't get this backstory about Kaido getting rid of Ringo and Ushimaru for Zoro to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to take out your.
And the descendant of Ringo is here, and he's a dragon. Like, nah, dog.
No.
Y'all just got to cut it out. Y'all just got to cut it out. So, accept ZKK like I am. It's okay, Sanji fans. It's okay, Luffy fans, because Luffy's going to beat Kaido. Like, Kaido's going to be knocked out. Zoro's just there to do the kill.
I would rather, like I've said this before, I'm going to keep saying it. I would love to get a 2v1 where it's Luffy and Zoro versus Kaido.
I would too. As a Luffy fan, I would as well.
But I kind of feel like what's being presented here, especially with Zoro saying things like Luffy will win earlier when he came down, with Sanji saying after this fight, we're going to witness Luffy, take that step to become Pirate King. I feel like this is going to be closer to trying to dismantle that epithet where Kaido will lose 1v1 or at least will tie. And so what I'm thinking is, this is just my new theory or my new theory delineation of ZKK. I think Zoro's going to defeat King. I think he's going to be able to witness a lot of the Luffy versus Kaido fight. At some point, that miracle is going to wear off and he's going to be on his last legs. Luffy and Kaido are going to pretty much tie. And we're going to have a moment where Luffy might get taken advantage of, similar to Odin, where he gets distracted or something. And now Kaido's saying, like, this is my chance to take Luffy out the same way he took Odin out. But now Zoro's there. And maybe through, like, literally coming in contact with, like, death's door or something, he learns to blacken his blade or something. And with that blackened blade, he kills Kaido. It's like you still get that Luffy's the one who brawled Kaido and beat him.
Zoro's the one who killed him. Hey, can we give Sanji some shine? Can I throw Sanji in this theory as just
all right. Throw him in there. Let's see.
Delivery boy. He just flies Zoro up and just flies him up. Zoro jumps off and then flies him. That's all I want is the wings of the Pirate King, man.
That's fine. All right.
The wings.
That's fine. I mean, technically, Usopp did use the bungee thing to help Zoro get into the air to kill the dragon in Punk Hazard. So if Sanji pulls off some literal wing shit,
some taxi.
The only thing I'm gonna say, look, I already called Sanji a taxi, but I also say Sanji is the wings. Zoro is not the wings. So if Sanji wants to encompass the wings, go for it.
He's the sword.
I'm all for it.
Zoro's about to sword up Kaido for the PK. So you know the vibes. But that's pretty much
all for it.
That's pretty much it. We probably should make a video about the Lunarians midweek before the next chapter. But everybody out there just depends on like because me and Christian live in Louisiana. So like there's a hurricane and we live in the area that it could come. So just depending on that, Depends if we're going to make a video in the middle of the week, but we want to because there's a lot more stuff in this chapter we could talk about, but no break next week. So, hey, we'll be back next week. Christian, tell us where they can follow you on social media, my man.
Hollinger94 for Twitter, or alternatively, Art Season, ARCHSZN on Instagram, and then Design Season LLC on all platforms.
Make sure y'all go follow Christian. You can follow me at LimbyWT. Follow Bros Who Think at Bros Who Think. Remember to subscribe to the YouTube. And like I said, we're going to try to put one out midweek, but if not, we'll be back next week and we'll talk more of this stuff in that video. But great chapter, and we'll talk to you next week. Until then, peace.
Peace.